right. Mic test. I think the microphone is okay. All right. So I do request we all mute our mics. I don't want to enforce that on everyone because I need you guys to be able to interrupt me and ask a question if you have any questions. All right. So let's see. Let's do that. All right. I hope this screen sharing will work as expected. Somebody, can you guys see my Windows computer? All right, perfect. So let me just join the meeting using another browser so that I can see if oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, I need to capture this. To open it. Alright, so text. Okay, I think I need to make somebody a co-host so that those who are joining late, we can have somebody admit them into the meeting. Let me just see. Sharon Ogutu. Oh my goodness. Let me unmute this. Okay. Sharon Ogutu, since you're the last to join, you're going to be my co-host. Now, how do I even make somebody a co-host? My goodness. Does somebody know how I can make somebody a co-host on Google Meet? I seem to have forgotten how to do that. Okay, yeah, for some reason I'm not able to do that, so we shall just proceed. Yeah, and hello and welcome to the session today. Let me see. Yeah, hello and welcome to the course. I hope I'm audible enough and everybody can see my Windows computer. This is an office hours class. It's a free office hours class where we want to do a recap of what we've done so far. We also want to see some of the areas people have been, have been getting challenged. If you've already done whatever tasks we are going to do in this session, you can just follow through and see if you can spot out any mistakes that you might have done so that you don't end up breaking your environment. Yes. So in the software engineering world, we do not say computer, we say environment. So every time I say environment, just know I'm talking about your computer. whatever computer you'll be using in the program. So the first step we want to do is we want to convert our normal computer into a software engineering workstation. So to do that, we need to install a couple of tools. One of the tools we are going to install is VS Code. We are also going to install, let me just open Notepad here. I will call it 8 hours. Oh, what am I doing? I need to open it. Okay. So we are going to install VS Code. We are going to install Sublime Text. We are going to install Python interpreter. And we are going to install Node.js. So Python, from the name, Python is for running Python code, or it's for executing files written in Python. Node.js is for executing files written in JavaScript. Now there's a difference between Java and JavaScript, and they are both programming languages, so just keep that in mind. So the prerequisites for this session is that you have a computer or a laptop, and you already know the basics of working with the computer. For example, you know the difference between left clicking and right clicking. You know how to open software like Mozilla, close it. You know how to move things around. You know how to create folders and create files inside, and so on and so forth. So we are going to install these four pieces of software, and as they install, we are going to look at CMD. Remember from the previous class, we said that as a software engineer, you should feel at home whenever you see a command prompt or a terminal. They both mean the same thing. So quickly we will go to our browser. We open Mozilla Firefox. You can use Chrome or whatever browser you use. The prerequisite for this class is also you need to know how to navigate your folders. For example, if I say right now, go to your downloads folder, you need to be able to know what that means. I will briefly have a look at that. So I'm going to open a new tab, and inside the new tab I'm going to type VS Code. So for this class I'm using a completely new Windows. Okay, I haven't really installed much. I've just installed the operating system and the default applications, nothing else, nothing fancy. So I will click on the first link right here, and then I will click on this download for Windows. So once you do that, you'll get this thing here, which means your software is downloading. So let's just close this. So we'll go to another tab and we type Sublime Text, and we hit enter. Okay, I'm not a robot, my goodness. Crosswalk, this, that, crosswalk, that. That's it. Verify. Okay, so we'll go to Sublime Text. We open Sublime Text. We download for Windows. Just click on this button right here. Okay. So you can always click on this icon right here to see the progress. So as you can see, it's already installing Sublime Text. So we'll also install Python. So I'll just type Python. I'll hit enter, and then I'll click the very first link here. And then while I'm here, there are two options. So if you just take your mouse here without clicking anything, you'll get these two options right here, the install manager and the Python 3.14. Now, I haven't really used this much, but I think it can work. But for now, we're just going to go with this. So I'll click on it. And again, we can come here and see it's installing. Now, what else is remaining? So if you install we've downloaded, we've not installed yet. We've downloaded VS Code, Sublime, Python interpreter. So we go and look for Node.js. So we just type Node.js like so. And then we say get Node.js. And then we say Windows installer. This right here, we say Windows installer. Since we are using Windows, if you're using another operating system, it will show you right here. So we can come again to the downloads and see what's happening. So if you're having problems following, because the easiest way to follow through is if, for example, you have two screens. So one screen is for the meeting and another screen is for running the commands. So if you're not able to follow practically, just follow through theoretically, and then later you can go through the recording. I'm recording this session. I hope the quality will be clear. I will upload it later to YouTube. But for now, you can just follow through and understand the concept, understand the, theoretically what you're doing. So all our software are installed. So to get to your downloads folder, you can click on this icon right here, like that, and then it will open your downloads folder. But if you're using a different browser which does not have these icons, you can just come to this PC, double click on it, and then inside this PC you're going to go to downloads. So it can be here. If this is minimized, you can also find it here, downloads. So inside downloads we have these 4 pieces of software installed, downloaded, sorry. Now whatever we've downloaded, in most cases we say we've downloaded VS Code, but it's not the actual VS Code we've downloaded. We've just downloaded the installer. Now the installer will install the actual VS Code. The same applies to pretty much any software that you download. You don't download the actual software, or rather you download the installer that will install the software. So right here, let's install VS Code. So I'm just going to double click on this. And then I will say accept agreement. Of course, if you have time, you can read all this, but I'm a fast reader. I've already read everything. So you click next. You'll click next. VS Code, don't create, blah blah, next. So here I'm going to check all these. I'm going to say create a desktop icon, add, and then I'll say next. I'll say install. So it's doing its thing. Unfortunately on Windows you cannot install 2 things at the same time. So while this is installing, let me see, maybe there's an update they rolled out, but initially you could not install 2 pieces of software at the same time. Oh, okay, it's finished. So I will uncheck this. I think my Windows has disappeared. Let me just try to reconnect. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what happened, but let's just close all these windows for now. So we'll just say finish, and then let me just see. My mouse is not moving. I don't know why. So allow me to end the share and then restart it again for some reason. Yeah, let me just disconnect and then reconnect again. So this is 751. Looking for 751. Accept. We'll expand here. Okay, we're back. Yeah, so I've just double clicked on Sublime Text, and I will click next. I will click next. I will click install, and wait for it to install. I will click finish. Sublime Text is installed. We go next to Python interpreter. So I'll just double click on it, and I will check these two options here. This is where most of the people are getting stuck. So I will check these options, and then I will say install now. I'll click yes. Oh my, okay. So apparently whenever I try to install something, AnyDesk disconnects. So let me just reconnect again. Okay, okay, this is getting annoying. All right, so I think I'll run the installs using the main computer. Let me see. Okay, so what we've done, we've installed VS Code, we've installed Sublime Text, and now we are installing Python interpreter. So nothing has happened since we lost our connection. Nothing else has happened. So here we're just going to say disable path limit. Oh my goodness. Okay, I seem to be having issues with these installations. I do not know why. Um, all right, I hope that is the last of it. Yeah, so we've installed VS Code, Sublime Text, and Python interpreter. Let's put a pause on Node.js as I try to figure out the disconnection. So once those tools are installed, we can try and open them and look around. So for starters, we can come to the icon down here. So once you install VS Code, it will create a desktop icon right here. You see this thing, but we want to see how to find it from the menu right here. So down here, I'm just going to click on this, and then I'll look for VS Code. Should be down somewhere here, Visual Studio Code, and then I open it. This one right here. I open it. Yeah, so this is how it looks like after you've installed. I think this you can just say mark done and then proceed. So there are a few important things to note in VS Code. This is our AI agent. VS Code comes with an AI agent that will help you in writing the code. We have the options here. We have the file option, which we'll use to create file, create folders. So if I want to create a folder, I'll just come here. If I want to open a folder, sorry, I'll say open folder, and then I can open any folder. I can also create a file. I can say new file. Where is it? New file, and create a file. Or I can use these options right here. There's also the terminal, but you look at that after you've looked at CMD. So I'll just go back. Let's find out if the Python interpreter is installed. So down here, I will come and say Python. So I'll open this one. Be mindful of the icons. This one says ideally. Chelagat, go ahead. Just unmute and speak. Kilua. Oh, that was Kilua. You're using a different email. Kilua, go ahead, unmute and okay. Wait a minute. Do I have to allow you to? I think you can unmute and speak. Let me see if I have to allow. Yeah, Kilo, I think you can just unmute and speak. I think you're having issues, so you can just do that when you're ready. So we'll open the Python interpreter. It's this one right here. And as you can see, this is our Python interpreter. So we can run Python code here. Like I can say name is Kilwa. And then I'll hit enter. And then I will say print name. Print name. And then I hit enter. It tells us name is Kilwa. So the Python interpreter is working fine. VS Code is working fine. Let's close it. The last thing is Sublime Text. So let's confirm Sublime Text is working okay. So I'm going to look for Sublime Text right here. I will open it. So Sublime Text is very simple. Sublime Text and VS Code are what we call code editors. They are just like normal editors. Like for example, on your computer you have Notepad. Some people use sticky notes to write notes, and some people use Microsoft Word. So you can think of Sublime Text and VS Code, a similar tool people use to write code, but to write text. But in this case, these tools are specifically designed for writing code. So Sublime Text is also working okay. We will close it. Any questions so far before I proceed? Kilwa, if you're still having issues unmuting or speaking, you can just text your questions in the chat. I'll be able to see it. Update and trends saying we are doing great. All right, so we shall proceed. Now, let's have a look at CMD. What is CMD? Now, you see, I have opened this text file, okay? Let me just repeat that. Let me save it. So let me come to an empty window right here. I will right click and say new and say text document, okay? And I'm going to call this text document, let me say class, okay? So this is the text document. Let me just respond to somebody on Discord. Is asking where the class is. All right, sorry, I was responding to some guys on Discord. So we can do a lot of things using whatever we see here, and in the computer world we call this GUI. In short, let me just type it here. Let me open this. We call this GUI, okay? And what this means is graphical user interface, okay? So you are interacting with the operating system using graphics on the screen. So if I want to open this file, I will just double click on it, and then I will see the contents inside. If I want to create a folder, I can just right click here and say new and say folder, and then I will call this folder class. I can as well open the folder like that, and then inside the folder I can create a text document, say new text document, class document, okay? And then inside I can say something. I can say hello world inside the text document, like shown. And then I click this, I save my work, okay? So this is how normal users interact with the computer. As software engineers, we don't do that. We want to be a little bit extra. So how can I do what I've done here using the terminal only? Now, it's also important to understand the history of the terminal and why learning the terminal is very important. We mentioned briefly of cloud servers. And when you're interacting with the cloud server, which is basically a computer in the cloud, most of them do not have this, what you see here. If you want to create a folder, you cannot do it here. You have to do it inside the terminal, okay? Because when you build your application, you also have to know how to deploy that application in the cloud and operate a server. And the way we operate servers primarily is through the terminal, okay? So that is why it's very important you learn the terminal. Now let's open our terminal. So we are going to go to the search bar here, and then we'll type CMD, and then we'll open this black thing here. You see this one black with the name command prompt app. We open it, okay? Once we open it, it's always a good practice to expand it so that it can fill your screen. Now remember, I said as a software engineer, again, make this your home, okay? Or rather, whenever you see this, you should feel at home. What is the first thing you always want to do once you're inside the terminal? You always want to find out which folder am I inside, okay? And to do that, we can say dir. And once we do dir, here it's saying we are inside the directory users mbadi, and these are the folders inside that directory. Okay, now assuming you want to work, this is what you call a working directory. Where you're running your commands is what you call the working directory. This is my working directory. Okay, but assuming I don't want to create my files here, I want to create my files inside desktop. So I'll see here that I have desktop inside my working directory. So how can I change my working directory into desktop? To do that, it's a very simple command. You just say cd and then you say desktop. Okay, and now my working directory is users mbadi desktop and no longer users mbadi. That is very important to know. Now inside here, I want to see what are the contents of my working directory. So to list the contents again, we use the same command dir, and then we list the contents. So we have to scroll down. So once we do dir, we can see we have 8 hours txt, we have class, this is a directory, this is a file. So this column shows you if whatever you're seeing here is a directory or a file. If there is nothing to show, then that's a file. If it says dir, then that is a directory. So here we can see that class is a directory, but class.txt is not a directory. So now our working directory is users mbadi desktop. Let's try and create a folder. To create a folder in here, we can say mkdir, we say 8 hours challenge. 8 hours challenge. Okay, and then we hit enter. So we don't get any response. Whatever is printed after you run a command is what we call a response. So right now we have not gotten any response right here, but we want to find out, has the folder been created? To do that, what command do we use? We list our directory. So here I'm just going to say dir, and then I'll scroll down, and then I see 8 hours challenge directory has been created. It has been created on 8:33 p.m. which is right now, and it was created today, 03/03/2026. Are we together so far? Somebody give me a thumbs up in the chats if you are together. All right, Mbula, thanks for the thumbs up. So now here's the challenging bit. Here's the challenge. Oh, I need to use CLS. So for example, when you're working with a terminal, some people like it this way. Okay, they like their terminal very busy, like so that they know everything they've run, how things are flowing. But you know, some people like some little bit of order, so we will do CLS to clear the screen. That is what this command means. So CLS is clear the screen. We hit enter, and then now we have a clean working screen. Now here is the challenging bit. Remember, if we do dir, we've created the directory 8 hours challenge, okay, right here. So inside this folder, we want to create a file and add some contents into the file. Now if you remember, the command for creating a file and adding contents into a file is echo, and then you write the text you want to add. So for example, this is working. So this text will be saved into the file called 8 hours from cmd.txt. Now the challenge here is this file, we want it to be inside this directory. We don't want it to be inside this directory. Remember, I've said this is my working directory, and whatever command I run inside my working directory will happen inside my working directory. I know that is very confusing, but just check this out. So I'll hit enter. Why am I not able to hit enter? Okay, I'll hit enter, and now we assume this has been created. And to confirm that this has been created, we can open this PC. So we can minimize this. We open this PC, and then inside the desktop, we can right click and say group with date modified, so that we can see the latest changed file. So we can see here that the file 8 hours from CMD was created. Let's open it. And as you can see, this is working, was added into that file. However, we don't want it to be here. We want it to be inside here. So how do we do that? Pay close attention. So we'll open our CMD and say, this directory, we want to change into this so that this becomes our working directory right here. So we will do CD and then we say 8 hours. But I have not typed the entire word. If you've noticed, I've done something and then the text was auto-completed. So to do that, we call that, oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, can you guys hear me? Oh yeah, my network kind of glitched a little bit. Let me just reconnect. All right. Sorry about that. Let me just mute this. Sorry about that. So we've said, number one, when you want to type something in the terminal and it's very long, terminal has a way to like auto suggest what you want to type. So here, for example, I'm scratching. Anybody else having a challenge hearing me? Okay, cool. So here I will say CD and then I will just write 8 hours and then I will hit tab. The tab key is this one right here. Let me show you the tab key for those who don't know. The tab key is this right here. So if I hit this, the terminal will autocomplete. So let's just try that and see. So I've written 8 hours and then I will hit the tab key. As you can see, it has filled out the rest of the words. So that is a nice little trick you need to have at your fingertips whenever you're working in the terminal. So I want to change into this directory, so I will say that and then I change into that directory. Okay, for some reason, okay. Yeah, and then I'll change into that directory. All right, so after I've changed into this directory, we now want to create our file, this 8 hours cmd.txt, and then we want this file to contain some content. Okay, so we can copy this command. We can copy it. So if you just select like this and then you right click, CMD will automatically copy. So when you come down here and you right click again, okay, I'm using a virtual machine, so I'm having problems with some commands. So let me try Control V, not working. So let's just type. You'll say echo, and then you'll say this is from 8 hours working directory. And then I want this content to be saved inside 8 hours challenge. Wait, was it 8 hours challenge or 8 hours.txt? What was the 8 hours from cmd.txt? And then we hit enter. Okay, that's a very long command. We hit enter. So inside the working directory 8 hours challenge, let's confirm if the file was created. So we'll do dir, and then we can see that the file was created right here. It was created at 8:40 p.m., which is 8:40, which is like a minute ago. Now you can confirm the same using your your file manager. So I will minimize this, and then I'll go to this PC, and then inside this PC I want to go to desktop. I want to go to 8 hours challenge, and then I see the text was created right here. The text was created right here. So now we have duplicates. We have this here which says this is the 8 hours working directory, and then if you go back, we have the same file right here, although it has different content, like this is working. So how do we delete this? So the normal user will just come here and say right click, delete, but we've said no, we are software engineers, we do things differently. So I'm going to go to the CMD, and I want to delete that file. Now remember, the file is not inside 8 hours challenge. This is our current working directory, and the file is not here. The file is here. So how do we go back to this so that we can delete that file? To do that, you will do CD, and then you do dub like that, and then you hit enter. So now your working directory is desktop and not 8 hours challenge. By the if you want to know which is your working directory, just look for this where it ends. Where it ends, look for the text right below before it. So now we are inside the desktop working directory. Now we want to delete that file, so we can first list dir, and then as you can see, this is the text we want to delete. So we will say del, and then we say 8 hours, and then we hit tab. But again, if you hit tab, it suggests this without context. So we are going to say underscore, and then we hit tab again. It says challenge, but we don't want challenge, so we want this one right here. So instead of challenge, we are going to say fr, we hit tab, and then it auto-completes. We hit enter, and then the file is deleted. So let's list the contents and see if the file is actually deleted. So we'll do dir, and then as you can see, the file was here, and here it's nowhere to be found, so it has been deleted. All right, any questions so far? All right, moving on swiftly. Now let's write some code. Are you guys ready for some code? Or I should leave it at that for today? So give me a thumbs up if you want us to continue and write some code. All right, so we write some code. Now we said this is the entire process of software engineering, okay? Software engineering involves, let me see if I can just activate the paint here. Software engineering involves us writing a bunch of instructions in English. For example, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this, okay? These are our instructions. And then we take these instructions, we give it to the computer, okay? But let me just try to draw a computer here. I was very good at art and craft back in primary school. I used to draw very nice things. I don't know what happened. Just the same way I was very good at maths, and then they started saying find x. Now why is alphabets inside numbers? That is when maths became very confusing. Anyway, so we take our instructions in English, we give it to the computer. However, like I said, the computer does not understand English. The computer only understands electricity. And electricity can only have two states. Let me just admit the Celine. So the computer does not understand English. The computer only understands electricity. And there are only two states to electricity. Either it's on or it's off. Okay? Now, in the computer world, we don't say on or off. We represent this using numbers because computer only understands numbers. So we say 1 and 0. Okay? This is the only language the computer understands. So how do we take our English and convert it into ones and zeros? We introduce what we call an interpreter. Okay? Now, whatever you use in the middle depends on the language that you're using. So there are some languages which use what we call an interpreter. There are some languages which use what we call a runtime, and there are some languages which use what you call a compiler. This is actually not true. Scrap this. I was just using it for the purpose of this explanation. So some languages use interpreters, some languages use compilers. Now in our case, we are using an interpreter, which is the Python interpreter. So we take our instructions, we give it to the computer, to the interpreter, then the interpreter will convert everything to ones and zeros. Okay? Once the computer is done processing our instruction, it will give these ones and zeros to the interpreter, and the interpreter will convert it into English. Okay? Let's have a look at an example. How do I clear this thing? Is there a command to clear everything in the screen? On the screen, sorry. Let me see. I don't even know how to expand this. My goodness. Okay, I can just open a new file. Let me be lazy. Don't save. So assuming we have two sets of instructions, okay? So here we say my account balance in the bank is 6 million. Can somebody say amen? So my account balance is 6 million, okay? So I have 6 million. Now I have gone to the ATM, okay? I've gone to the ATM, and of course I don't work with my balance in my mind. Hey, this is a lot of money and I have a lot of, assets to manage. I can't just keep this figure in my mind. So I've gone to the ATM. I want the ATM to show me my balance. So what will the ATM do? The ATM will say, let's just get the text. Where is it? The ATM will say print balance. Okay, so this is what the ATM will say. Now, of course, this is not exactly what we've said. We've used, like language. We've used natural language. We've gone somewhere and clicked a button. Okay, and then that button will perform these instructions. Okay, so as human beings, we do not really, as users, we don't really execute the instructions like so. We only I don't want that. Come on, baby. We click a button, or we fill a form and whatnot. Now the computer does not understand this. As a matter of fact, the computer will say this is nonsense. So allow me to use the word nonsense. The computer does not understand this nonsense. So what we will need to do as human beings, so that we do not end up fighting the computer, we take this instruction, admit. So what we do, we take this instruction, and then we have our friend here called the interpreter, Python interpreter. If I can just draw, let me get this. So we have the Python interpreter, and then the Python interpreter will now eventually give our instructions to the computer for the computer to process. Okay, like so. So this computer has our balance. We do not know our balance. This is stored inside the computer. Okay, so the computer has that 6 million that I spoke about. Okay, so we give our instructions to the compiler, to the interpreter, sorry, and then the interpreter will give our instructions to the computer. But when it gives the instructions to the computer, it's not like this. It's ones and zeros, 1 0 1 0 0 0 1, blah 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 blah, like so. And then the computer will understand the ones and zeros. Once it's done, it says, oh yeah, you are looking for the balance. Here is the balance. Now the balance is not given in English. The balance is not given as 6 million. It's given as 1 0 1 0 blah 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 0 0 1, like so. And if you've watched any IT movies, that is why you see them using a lot of ones and zeros flowing on the screen. Something like this. Matrix. Where is it? So if you look at the matrix, at the background, you can see ones and zeros. Let's find something that is simpler to understand. Okay, this is a little bit more complex. So that is what normally happens. So the computer will return the balance in ones and zeros. The interpreter will take that balance and give it to you in English language you can understand. Now let's look at this in practice. So we will open our Python interpreter. For now, we will interact with the interpreter directly, but rarely is that the case in the real world. So we'll go down here and say Python interpreter. So let me just zoom in a little bit. So number one, we store the balance. We store the balance for the user. So we'll say balance is 6 million. Okay. And then down here, we want to say print balance. And then you hit enter, it prints our balance. So believe it or not, what we've done right here, the commands we've typed and whatnot, this is what has happened under the hood. Okay. Now we can do a bunch of things inside the interpreter. So we can say, for example, number equals to 2. And then we say number 3 or number 4 equals to 10. And then down here, we want to find the total. How much is the total? So we'll say print. And then inside, we'll say number plus number 4. And then you hit enter. It tells us, hey, number plus number 4 is 12. What else can we do? We can store a list of items. So we can say, let's have a list of food in our kitchen. So a list of food in our kitchen. Since I'm a lawyer, obviously I will start with flour. I will go to omena, if you guys eat omena. And since I'm married to a Kikuyu babe, I'll say potatoes. And maybe my students are in Uganda, I will say matoke. I'm sorry guys, I do not know what matoke is in Uganda or whatever. Okay, so this is our kitchen. We have a list of food. Now let's see, let's print our list of food. So we'll say print, and then we say food, like so. And then the list of food is printed on the screen, okay? Now, this is very dirty. I want to clear this screen. So to clear the screen, I'll just say clear, and then like so. Now, assuming we want to build an application, that will track corrupt politicians, okay? We want to see if this politician is corrupt or not. So, number one, we will say politician. Let's use relatable names. Let's say, for example, one of us is a politician. I'm breaking George Gitao. Is anybody having any issues with my... yeah, I guess not. So let's pick somebody random in the chat. Let's say Osiago. Joel Osiago is the MP for Budalangi or whatever. So we'll say member of parliament is Osiago, and then we say Osiago. Okay, and then down here I've typed that member. That should be member. By the way, if you don't have typos in your code, you're not very serious about your job as a software engineer. I'm just kidding. So the member of parliament is Osiago. What is the salary? The salary for Osiago is 3 million. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 3 million. So what do we assume the net worth of Osiago is? Let's first find the expenses. So we'll say expenses. Osiago has a mistress who takes 1 million, has a wife who takes 1 million. He remains with 1 million. 1 million pombe and mihadarati. I'm sorry for Ugandans. Pombe and mihadarati is alcohol and drugs. Takes the extra, maybe let's say 500,000 and whatnot. So Osiago has spent, let's say, 2,800,000. 2,800,000. Is it 2,800,000? 2,800,000. So this is the expense Osiago has incurred. Now, what is the balance? So we'll say Osiago has a balance of, that should be 200,000. So Osiago has 200,000. Okay. Now, we come to do an audit. We find out Osiago's net worth is 5 million. Okay. Osiago's network is 5 million. Now, where has Osiago gotten the extra 2 million? Because as you can see, from his expenditure, he's practically remained with nothing because he has, spent everything. He has remained with nothing. So we want to say Osiago is a thief. Okay. Now, how do we do that? Okay. We can use a condition. In programming language, we call them a condition. A condition will basically evaluate a let's say a statement that you give it. So a condition is something like, for example, if net worth is greater than salary, and then we put a colon, we hit enter. If net worth is greater than salary, then we want to say print Osiago is a thief. Osiago, I'm very sorry, I couldn't find another name. we know you're not a thief. So we'll say that, and then we hit enter. As you can see, it's telling us Osiago is a thief, because indeed his net worth is more than his salary. How come? Your net worth should be lower than your salary. Of course, here the assumption is we are working within a month. Okay, we do not want to care about Osiago started working in 1980s or whatever, and so on and so forth. Now, so here is the confusing bit that, where some people get lost. Whatever we've done, we've been interacting with the interpreter directly. Okay, but this is not how we work with the interpreter. How we work with the interpreter is we take our instructions, we put them inside a file, and then we take that file, we give it to the interpreter. Let's do let's see how that works. So now, like I said, software engineers are very organized people. As you can see, my desktop is very organized. Let me just move this here. Very organized. So number one, we are creating a project. So number one, you start by creating a folder that will house all your instructions and everything related to your project. So I will right click here. I will say new. I'll say folder. I'll say corrupt politicians. Okay. Corrupt politicians. I will leave it there. Now, if you followed the instructions for installing VS Code here, you can just right click on this and say open with code. This one right here. But in case you did not follow the steps or this is missing, you can just come to the bottom left corner right here and look for VS Code. It's right here. We'll open it. And then once it's open, you'll just say mark done. We will say open folder. You see this here. Let me just zoom in. We'll say open folder, and then we open our folder. So our folder was created under desktop. So we look for desktop right here. We say desktop, and then we say corrupt politician. We say select. Okay. Once we say select, we can say yes, I trust this author. And then we have this. So we are currently inside our directory. So I've admitted everybody. What do you mean? Okay, so once inside here, we have to take our instructions and put it inside one file. So we will start by creating the file. So I'll say new, and then I will call my file main.py. And then remember, before you start anything else, you always have to have a file that will have your instructions. Okay, so I will create another file here. I will call it readme.md. You can say readme.txt or you can say document, whatever, but this is the standard readme.txt. Let's just try to minimize this. So inside readme.txt, we are going to say platform for tracking corrupt politicians. So number one, we want to store the name of the politician, We want to store the salary they get. We want to store their expenses. And we want to store balance. Okay, once we have the expenses, we already have the balance, so there's no need to store the balance again. And then we'll have a condition, or we can just say check balance against salary, for example, and then we can just say if balance if net worth, sorry, I forgot, it's supposed to be if net worth is greater than the salary, then he is corrupt. Just like that. So we have to break down our instructions first before we start writing the code. Now let's go and start writing some code. So inside main.py, number one, we store the name of the politician. So you'll say name, or we can say first name. First name is, let's just guess the name. Let me look for another culprit in the charts. Let me see who I want to. Boniface. Let me go with you. So we'll say Boniface. Now what am I doing? I think I've done something here that I did not intend to. Okay, that's okay. I'll get back to that. So we'll say Boniface is the name of the politician. And then we want to store the salary. Boniface gets, say, 20,000. Expenses, or we can track individual expenses. We don't have to track, like, the total. So we can say, for example, rent. Boniface pays a rent of 10,000. Let me just put a space here. And then we can say Boniface also has bills, other bills like utilities and whatnot, which is 5,000. And then Boniface saves 5,000. I think that makes it a total of 20,000. Yeah, correct. So then we want to find out how much is Boniface worth. Okay, so here we'll come and say net worth. Net worth is 4,000. Okay, so the assumption here is you're working with monthly, so the net worth is monthly net worth. Yes, everything looks okay. Let me just zoom in. So are we together so far? Give me a thumbs up if we are together. Share in the chats if you are lost. All right, so there's something very important I want you to pay attention to. Programming is very easy if you say exactly what you're doing. If you go through the entire process, as if you're telling a story, it becomes very easy. That's why I'm able to type all these. Actually, by the way, it's not that I have all this syntax in my mind. I'm just saying the story as I go. I have some parts of it in my mind, but not everything. So now down here, first and foremost, we can just try to run our code and see if everything is working okay. Okay, so let me just close all these other windows. Save. So we can just try to run our code. Now remember, I said instead of going to CMD to run our code, VS Code comes with an inbuilt terminal. Okay, so right here I'm just going to click on this. I will say new terminal, and then under new terminal, it opens this, but it opens PowerShell, but we don't want to use PowerShell. We want to use command prompt. So I will click on this and say command prompt. Okay, and then I will close this PowerShell. I don't need it anymore. So I now have CMD only. Now, how do we take our file, this right here, and give it to the interpreter? How we do that? We first type the interpreter, and then we give it the file. We say main.py. We hit enter. Okay, nothing gets printed on the screen, because if you remember, software engineering, we store data, manipulate data, and present data. So right now we are only storing data. We've not manipulated any data. We've not presented any data. Let's try and present it. So down here we'll say print. We want to print the first name so that we know which politician we are dealing with. And I'll come down here. I will say Python main.py. I hit enter. Again, nothing gets printed. Does anybody know why nothing gets printed? Yet we've defined this print statement here. Does anybody know why? Okay, so we have not saved our file. We've only created the instructions, but we've not saved. Okay, so if you're using VS Code like I've done in this video, you can just come to this icon right here. You'll go to file, and then down here you have something called autosave. You're going to click on it. Right now it's not checked, so you're going to click on it. So what autosave means is that our file will continuously save, so that you don't have to come here every time and click save. Okay, instead of coming and doing save every time, our file will save automatically. Now let's run our code again. So I'm going to clear my screen, and then I will type the same command. So if you want to go back to a command you typed previously, you can just click the arrow key on your keyboard. This key right here, let me show you. You can just click this. If I do this, it will take me to whatever commands I typed before. Like right now I typed CLS and I also typed Python. Okay, so it will take you to the previous command. Let's hit enter, and now we are getting the name printed on the screen. Okay, but our code lacks the logic. Our code just stores information. We don't know if at all this politician is a thief or not. So we add a condition. Now the condition is right here. We are going to say if net worth for that month is greater than salary, then you put colon. We are going to print this politician is corrupt. Okay, now let's see how that works. So we'll run our code again, and then we're only getting Boniface printed on the screen. Now let's go back and see why this was not printed. Okay, this will only be printed if this is true. Now, is this true? So we see net worth is 4,000, salary is 20,000. So this is not true because net worth is not greater than salary, it's lower. But what if we change this to lower? If net worth is lower than salary, let's see if this will be printed. So again, we run our code, and then we see this politician is corrupt, and then we have the name of the politician. Okay, so we can interchange this so that the name comes first. So we can just cut this. So we can say cut, and then we come here, and then we paste it there. Okay, let's just put a space there, and then we run our code again. So as you can see, we are saying Boniface, this politician is corrupt. Why is the politician corrupt? Because this is turning out to be true. Okay, now let's try and now use some more logic, because right now we cannot just say net worth blah 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 blah. So let's say Boniface's net worth is 400,000. Okay, and we want to calculate the balance. If Boniface has incurred all these expenses and this is the salary, how much money is Boniface left with? So here we are going to say balance equals to, and then we want to deduct the expenses from the salary. So we'll say the balance is the salary minus rent minus bills minus savings. Okay, I wrote saves. Okay, savings. Okay, and then here we want now to see whatever money Boniface is left with, which is the balance, is it greater than or equal to the net worth? Because the balance that you are left with, we assume that is the money you're worth. Okay, it's not really accurate in terms of economics, but let's just go with that. So down here we are going to say if net worth, instead of salary, we are going to say if net worth is greater than balance, then this person is corrupt, because where have you gotten the rest of the money? Okay, so let's run our code again, and as you can see, this politician is corrupt. Why? Let's go back and look at the code. What is our balance here? And down here we can even print the balance first. So we can say print, and then we say balance. Okay, so we run our code and see, oh, he has a balance of 0, which means whatever this person earns, he has spent everything. Okay, But after spending everything, he has been left with 400,000. Where is this 400,000 coming from? And that is why we say this politician is corrupt. Now, let's increase the politician's salary. Let's say, for example, it's 2 million, okay? 2 million. And then we see what response we get. So we'll clear, and that is supposed to be CLS. And then we run our code once again. And as you can see, we are only getting the name Boniface. We are not getting whether he is corrupt or not, because the assumption is his net worth is lower than the balance, because the balance is higher than whatever this person earns minus the expenses. So the key takeaway from this session was installing the recommended extensions for your project, setting up, trying to understand CMD, which is the terminal, and then we've run a few bunch of codes right here. So what I'm going to do, I will share the code we've worked with here for you guys to play around. You can just try to change the values, change the name, change the calculation here, try to change the greater sign or equal to here, just try to change everything. You can even try to change this to print 3 and see what will happen. So if we change that to print 3, we can see Boniface. If we change this to 3 and then we run our code, we can see we are getting a syntax error. Okay, so you can try to play around. You can even change this if. Okay, you can try and see, what if I put a semicolon instead of a colon, and then run your code. Again, you're getting a whole bunch of errors. Okay, so you can play around with that and see what happens. That marks the end of this session. Any questions before we end the session? All right, I guess I'll see you guys in the next class. I hope I've not confused you further, and I hope you've had some an awesome time in this session. So for last week, Node.js Titan, I think Titus, we'll have to pick that up in the next class. We are out of time. Next class is tomorrow at 8 p.m. So the entire course is of course absolutely free, and I think you understand the amount of work that goes into preparing and delivering such a course. So if you do wish to support the program, I do wish you support the program, you can use the M-Pesa number in the chats. You can send a donation of whatever amount you have. If you donate 1,000 shillings and above, if for guys outside, 1,000 shillings is about $10. If you donate $10 and above, that means you get a priority for the office hours that are not free. So what that means is we can have a one-on-one session with you. We go through some of the topics that have been challenging for you, and we see how to unstuck you. Like you said, we are not leaving anybody behind, and you're not giving up on each other. So I do encourage you guys to share. If you get stuck, just share in the chats. There's a help channel on Discord for you to share whatever struggles you're going through, so that other members can help you proceed. Yeah, I guess that's it, unless anybody has a question. All right, I've shared the number, the M-Pesa number in the chats. I also share it in the Discord server if you miss it there. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.